Imagine living 70, 80 or 90 years of quality health. What's the key word there?
Quality.
Quality, yes, health, but quality, thank you. Imagine that type of life where you're not dependent upon any medication or surgery just to be able to get up and function every day. Imagine now having a predictable level of health in the next 10, 20 or 30 years where you'll know exactly what you'll be doing, loaded with energy, vitality, basically doing whatever you want, whenever you want, whether that being an active mom or dad, traveling the world, hopefully, or maybe it's just being able to pick up your grandkids or knowing that you're not going to get sick every time the next flu bug comes around. Who wants all that? We do, right? Okay, so it's all about quality of health and getting your life back. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Neil Thompson and I'm a wellness expert, and Dr. Newman here, he's my co-partner in crime, so to speak, and we are both wellness experts, and we're boldly stepping out to try and change the health system, because what we really have at the moment is sick care. And yes, we need sick care, but we need a lot of health care, and not a lot of that is really coming through. And there's a couple of reasons for that, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. But we're trying to fill in that gap, because to be honest, 90% of people really need health care, 10% probably need the sick care. And at the moment, most of us are just getting sick care. And this is one of the reasons why our health is probably the worst it's been in modern history. Right? If you just think about how many people now are struggling with chronic disease, it's more than it is now than it ever has been in the history of modern man. And it's because essentially a lot of our health problems are really related to our lifestyle. Okay? How many of you would agree that our lifestyles today are probably not as healthy as they used to be? Ah, yes. Okay, great. Absolutely. You only have to look at our kids and you'll see that, the kids today are definitely not as healthy as perhaps we were when we were that age. All right. Okay, so the fact that you're here today means that you are all action takers, and success is always reserved for action takers. So congratulations, give yourself a pat on the back, because success will always follow action. If you've got two people, let's imagine one of them knows everything about gym and exercise, and the other one just goes to the gym, but doesn't know a lot about exercise, but actually goes to the gym. Who do you think is going to get better results? The person who goes to the gym, right? The person who takes action, all right? So I think we can probably all agree Google is information overload now. You could probably Google immune system, how to boost it, and you're going to get a gazillion things come through. My job is to inspire you to action today, because if you take hold and implement these tips that I'm going to give you tonight, it will make a massive difference, I promise. And the reason we can give you that kind of a guarantee is because we're dealing with biological law. If you give the body what it needs and you remove what it doesn't need, it's always going to work better. Does it mean to say you're going to get your miracle cure? Not necessarily, right? It may, but it may not, but you're always going to be better off for it. Does that make sense? Now, in the next hour or so, you're going to discover some of the most powerful, effective, natural ways of getting healthy and staying healthy. I'm going to share with you some information that's going to help you understand how you can boost your immune system very effectively, how you can reduce sickness, increase your energy, become pain-free, dramatically reduce your chance of ever having to have surgery or developing a chronic illness. Who wants all that? We do, right? Absolutely. How many of you would agree that your health is probably your most valuable asset? Definitely, okay? Now, we've all been told to invest into our pensions from the time the first day we start working. How many of you invested in your health from the day you started working? Ooh, but we've just agreed it's our most valuable asset, right? But don't worry, I was the same too, okay? And it's just because of a lack of understanding of what we actually need to do to get healthy. And tonight, hopefully, that's going to be a bit of a revelation. All right. When I talk about immune system, a lot of people immediately think about colds, flu, COVID, all the rest of it. But a lot of people don't actually think about this. Cancer and autoimmune disorders both result from failures in the immune system. Cancer Treatment Centers of America 2018, they were the ones who were talking about that. It's a huge problem when we have dysfunctional immune systems, not just for infectious disease. It's going to increase your chances enormously of cancer and autoimmune disease. And cancer is now the second leading cause of death, okay, after heart disease, when talking about health conditions specific. So we need to realize that your immune system is not just, or strengthening it, is not just about reducing your chances of getting colds and flu. It's so much more than that. Most people who are asymptomatic, typically living in the UK, who are asymptomatic and they're not really doing anything specifically to try and get healthy or well, but they don't have any symptoms, they're sitting here. These are people who think they're healthy, all right, but they're actually here, all right. It just means they haven't regressed enough to develop obvious signs or symptoms yet, but they certainly are not healthy, which is here. And I think the problem is our modern day definition of healthy is relative, isn't it? If you ask your next door neighbor, or if you compare yourself to your next door neighbor, let's imagine they're a person suffering with cancer and they're in and out of hospital all the time, you would say, well, I'm probably quite healthy. But if you compare yourself to a hunter-gatherer who lives in the Amazon, whose family and or contemporaries haven't even heard of cancer or heart disease because it just never happens, you wouldn't describe yourself as healthy compared to them, would you? I mean, how many of you have walked 10 miles today? No, okay. Right. How many of you have eaten anything that has got more than one ingredient listed on the box? Meaning, is it a processed food? So next time you just open up your peanut butter jar and you look at all the stuff on the back, okay, it's not just peanut butter in there, okay, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, all right? Okay. And would you agree that the world we live in today is quite a rat race? Would you say from a stress point of view, it's a rat race? And now more than ever before, right? Okay, how many of you would agree that it's more stressful today than it was 50 years ago?
Depends where you were.
I get that. Typical UK scenario, okay, assuming that you weren't in the middle of the Blitz in the World War II, okay, in general, all right, we're all trying to cram more in the same 24 hours, aren't we? Yeah. Remember in the olden days, we used to think it was quite acceptable to have your letter returned within a month. Yeah. Now you get annoyed if the person hasn't emailed you back the same day. Okay? Because technology, whilst it's really super convenient, it means that we're just cramming more in the day, aren't we? Yeah. All right? And you're all sitting so much more now because you're all on the computer, the laptop, or the iPhone. Okay? So what I'm getting at here is when we're talking treatment paradigm, when we're talking treatment, which is sick care, its goal is just to not let you rush to this. It's just to keep you out of symptoms. But it's really giving us a false sense of security. Just because you have no symptoms, does that mean you're healthy?
No.
No. How many people do you know of who seem perfectly healthy one day and literally the next day they drop dead of a heart attack? Happens a lot, right? Okay. Does heart disease take 12 hours to develop? No, it takes more like 20 years to develop. But can you feel your arteries slowly clogging up with atherosclerosis? You can't, all right? Okay. How about cancer? How many of you people, or how many of you know of someone who's just gone in for a routine scan? They looked perfectly fine, they felt perfectly fine, but they were diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and within 2 years they're dead. Again, it happens more often than we realize. So judging our health on how we look or feel, or symptoms, good idea or bad idea? Bad, because it's not really a good indicator of how healthy we are. We've got all these people who think that they're really healthy. They're actually only sitting here. They're not sitting here, all right? Which is why we shouldn't be so surprised when what's happened in the last 2 years. A lot of people have thought that they were healthy, but they actually weren't. So when we think about symptoms, we need to really think about, it's really just the tip of an iceberg. The issue, the real problem that's causing your symptom is what's below the water. If we're just trying to chip away at what's above the water, what we can feel, i.e. just trying to suppress the symptom, Is that going to address the root cause of the problem? No, okay. Treating symptoms never addresses the root cause of the problem. And unfortunately, often what it can do is by trying to suppress symptoms, by trying to just make us feel more comfortable, we actually can make that problem bigger. So when you have a symptom, it's like your body setting off a fire alarm. It's trying to say something's wrong. This is not good. Things have now got so bad, you really need to know about this now. You need to know about this is not a good direction in which you're heading. Okay, because all of us are heading either that way or that way. No one's static. So your body delivers you symptoms because it's trying to warn you you're going in the wrong direction. Okay, I've been tolerant and patient enough, but now you're here, you need to now take action. All right? So we need to move away from just trying to chip away at just treating and suppressing the symptom to addressing the cause. Now, some people just have the sort of notion of, well, let me just ignore it. Let me just, I'll just crack on. It's just, in the modern world now, I've just got to just push through it. How many of you would agree that when you just ignore something, the problem normally gets bigger? Almost always. And when you're dealing with immune system problems, if you're ignoring warning signs from your body that your immune system is not working well, it's only going to get worse. When we experience symptoms or sickness, it is actually part of health. Would you say, or would you agree it's intelligent that your body produces symptoms when you're now heading in this direction? Yeah, it's kind of tell you, it's good to have a fire alarm. How many of you want to just disconnect the fire alarm? We wouldn't do that in a real live fire situation, right? Okay, because the fire is just going to get bigger. So it's good that your body's producing a symptom. It's trying to warn you something's wrong. And the reality is we don't get sick. We do sick. Meaning it's our lifestyles that actually create the environment for us now to succumb to sickness. Because it's actually always there. Have you ever noticed why, maybe in your office, clearly everyone has been exposed to that flu virus, but only some people are getting sick? Do you honestly think that all the others just weren't exposed to the virus? Hand on your heart. Do you think that that's really the case? Absolutely not. They've all been exposed, all right? They've all been exposed. Just to give you an idea, if I was to sneeze, there are virus droplets that are being sent more than 10 meters away. And they're hanging like, how many of you have seen those dandelions? They're literally hanging in the atmosphere for days. Okay? And we are being exposed to it all the time. But the reason why some people are getting sick is because their immune systems are not functioning properly. And our goal is you can never run away from the virus. You can't. But you can strengthen your immune system. Okay? And that's where the battle's won. And the best way to strengthen your immune system is to start creating or changing your lifestyle to ones that are going to support and strengthen it. So we don't get sick, we do sick. It's the things that we're doing day in, day out that actually create the environment for us to start to get sick more easily. Does that make sense? Okay, I know it's a bit of a head wrecker, but we need to sometimes move away from the whole germ theory, and move towards, well, the environment actually is more important. Okay. Now, if you think of your health as a bit like a bonfire, when you're making a bonfire, you really need fuel, air, spark, which is effectively how you eat, how you move, and how you think. Think of it like that. Your environment is how you eat, move, and think. Okay? And we're going to break down each of those components and start to share with you what you need to be doing in terms of eating, moving, and thinking that's going to strengthen your immune system. And it has a compounding effect because it's how you're eating, moving, and thinking over a period of time that's ultimately going to determine how healthy or not you are, or how susceptible to disease you're going to be or not. Okay? There's some things that we can either stop doing, slow down doing, and start doing. So when we look at how you eat, we need to make sure that you're getting the required nutrients, you're getting the essential nutrients, Your nutrients are coming from whole foods as opposed to processed, refined foods. And you need to minimize your toxic food burden. So essentially, the reason why we are sick is because we're toxic and deficient in terms of how we eat, move, and think. We're going to talk about toxicities and deficiencies in how you eat first. We want to make sure we're getting unlimited vegetables. Unlimited. Please don't include potatoes in that, okay? You can't just eat chips all day long, okay? Abundant, lean, natural meats, some fruits, nuts, and seeds, and limit starch and no sugar. That's not new. You guys know that stuff, all right? It's not rocket science. But I want you to start thinking of your plate. Every time you look at your plate, you should be thinking, where is the plant? That's where you get your carbohydrates from, not grains. Not cereals, not pasta, not rice, it's plants, okay? Where's the plant, where's the fat, and where's the protein? That's how you want to start to think about it. So obviously, these are going to be your carbohydrates, your fruits and vegetables. Your fat is going to be good fats like fat from grass-fed meat. How many of you realize that that's actually good for you? Good, okay? All right, it's the bad fats that you want to keep away from, which are like the vegetable oils. That's bad fat, okay? Anything that's fried in vegetable oil. But good fat are things like avocados, nuts, seeds, okay? Even the fat from grass-fed meat. Protein, obvious. Okay, so some do's. Non-starchy vegetables, lots of them. Some fruit, meat, poultry, and fish. Free-range eggs. Yes, eggs are good for you, by the way. Forget the whole worrying about cholesterol thing. The egg yolk is one of the most nutritious parts of the egg, all right? It's very good for you if they're free-range eggs. Natural fats, some nuts and seeds, okay? This is basically what hunter-gatherers do, eat, all right? So think of it, genetically, we are hunter-gatherers, all right? We are, all right? But how many of us are actually living hunter-gatherer lifestyles today? We're not. So unfortunately, our genes, which are programmed for a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, are being exposed to a lifestyle that is completely incongruent to what our genes need to express themselves normally. So what's happening is our genes are actually now expressing themselves abnormally, resulting in poor health. Don'ts: refined carbohydrates, cereals and grains, sweeteners, bad vegetable oils. Obviously, olive, avocado, and coconut are an exception. I'm going to put olive as a neutral. It's not actually good for you. It's not horrendous for you like the other ones are, all right? But to be honest, you should be minimizing it, all right? But coconut oil and avocado oil, for example, are very good for you. In fact, coconut oil and even also grass-fed butter, okay? It's actually very good for you. Dairy products you should be keeping away from, except for grass-fed butter, that's all right, okay? And it's because essentially dairy is pasteurized. Right, when we pasteurize things, we superheat them. When we superheat dairy, you're denaturing the proteins in the milk. And unfortunately, when you denature the proteins in the milk, you change them to a configuration that your immune system now cannot recognize. So your body mounts an immunological attack against them, which is why you'll notice that when you start having lots of milk dairy products, you're going to have more sinus issues, stuffy noses, okay, and also it'll develop into autoimmune problems as well. Alternative products to dairy, and this is really important for your immune system because if you want to reduce how much sinus and sort of inflammatory responses to typical viruses and bacteria, if you're having dairy, you're going to have an excessive production of mucus throughout the body and excessive inflammation. Instead, have coconut milk, almond milk, or
Oat one's nice. Is that part of that?
Oat milk is fine. Just make sure there's no additives in it. You know, often they add in sweeteners or flavorings. Just make sure you don't have any of that. All right. But also be careful of the oat milk barista edition. They've got rapeseed oil in there. It's a vegetable oil. All right. The problem with vegetable oils is that they're very inflammatory on your body as well. They're going to also adversely affect your mitochondrial function. What do mitochondria do? They're your powerhouses of your cells. They are the things that produce energy. And vegetable oils will kill your energy. They kill your mitochondria, and as a result, you're going to be struggling with energy. You'll be tired all the time, and also it means that your regenerative capabilities are going to be significantly reduced. All right. Every time you look at a product now, you'll be shocked at how much rapeseed oil is in everything now. Okay. It never used to be in there 20 years ago. And this is why you've got to start reading labels. You have to start reading labels. There's a lot of hidden stuff in there, and you're wondering why you're getting sick. It's because of what you're putting in your mouth. All right? There should be one ingredient in the thing that you're eating. If it's an apple, it's an apple. Right? If it's oats, it's oats. Okay? Not all the other rubbish that they stick in there to make it flavorsome and all the rest of it, and or extend its shelf life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Reduce the amount, obviously, of soda, juice, and alcohol. And sugar is a big one. Sugar, unfortunately, mimics the molecular configuration of vitamin C. And you all know that vitamin C is important for your immune system, right? So unfortunately, if you've got high blood sugar levels, all your receptor sites on your cells that normally bind to vitamin C are instead going to bind to the sugar molecule. And so the receptor site is now blocked with sugar, so vitamin C now cannot get into your cell. So you can be taking gallons of vitamin C supplements, and it's going in one end and out the other, because you've been chomping on biscuits and chocolates throughout the day. It's blocked all the receptor sites. You must start reducing the amount of refined sugars, okay, because that's going to crash your immune system. And it's not just refined sugars. Every time you just eat a sandwich, a lot of it is just, it's carbs, okay, which is starch, which gets broken down into sugar. And again, you know, how many hunter-gatherers ate pasta or bread? They don't, okay, because it wasn't worth their while to grow enough wheat to harvest it to make a loaf of bread. They had to gather it, and they would have expended so much energy trying to gather enough wheat stalks to actually make a loaf of bread than they would have consumed from the loaf of bread. So they would have been getting most of their carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts, okay, as well as obviously proteins. Your body can use protein for energy. It can use fat for energy. But we're all relying on carbohydrates, starch, okay, from cereals and grains for our energy. The reality is we're eating like marathon runners, but very few of us are actually running marathons. And then we're wondering why we're putting on weight. And our immune system is crashing because our blood sugar levels are too high, which is why type 2 diabetes, it's an epidemic, a total epidemic at the moment. 1 in 5 people in the UK are obese. And you know the shocking thing? They're under 12 years old. That's kids. And they're obese because too much sugar. It's in everything. Okay, we've got to move on. Supplements. They work if you're getting the right ones. All right? But remember, the supplement industry, just be careful of it. It's not regulated, so there's a lot of rubbish out there. But you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if we go into those, your probiotics are crucial for your immune system in particular, because most of your immune system is in your gut. Okay, there's now so much research on the microbiome. It's what they call the third brain. So this area here has more nerve connections than anywhere else in your body except for your brain and spinal cord. And you need all those bacteria for it to be functioning properly. A, to digest your food properly, so you're absorbing all the good food that you're eating, because without those good bacteria, you're not going to be able to digest them. And you're going to actually lose so many nutrients in one end and out the other, simply because you don't have the bacteria to break it down. You also need those bacteria, because if you've got lots of good bacteria, the chances of harmful bacteria now lodging in your body is much harder. It's a numbers game. If you've got billions and billions of good bacteria, when you do get exposed to a few bad bacteria, they can't actually colonize easily because they get out-competed. Make sense? But if you're deficient in bacteria and you now get exposed to harmful bacteria, there's no competition, and they're going to run amok. All right, Omega-3 fish oil, essentially it's brain and nervous system food, and it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. Without adequate amount of omega-3 fatty acids, your brain and nervous system cannot work properly, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because at the end of the day, what controls your immune system? Your nervous system. And if your nervous system isn't firing properly and it doesn't have the raw materials it needs, you're also going to be struggling. Whole food supplements, so your multivit essentially should be coming from whole foods. It should say whole food multivitamin supplement. If it doesn't say whole food multivitamin supplement, it's coming from synthetics. So it doesn't have any of the coenzymes and cofactors that are necessary for your body to absorb all that goodness. Make sense? All right, so again, you're going to excrete a lot of it, and you're not going to absorb it. It's not what you eat, it's how much you absorb is really what's important. Vitamin C, we talked about that. Vitamin D3, you've probably all heard about how important that is, right? Okay. That is the single most important thing every single person in the world should be on at the moment. All right? It definitely will reduce complications of all sorts of viral infections. And it's responsible for, in fact, 2,500 of your 25,000 genes require vitamin D3 to function properly. All right? So not only is it crucial for your immune system, but it's crucial for so many other functions as well. And again, we're not just talking about infectious disease problems, we're talking about autoimmune problems. Autoimmune problems are rare in countries where they are exposed to large amounts of sunlight, because sunlight enables your skin to naturally manufacture vitamin D3. Since I've come to this part of the world, I cannot believe how many people are struggling with autoimmune problems. It's because they don't see the sun here. And so most people in the UK are vitamin D3 deficient. It's a fact, right? They reckon about 90% in the UK are vitamin D3 deficient. You need 4,000 to 6,000 international units per day. Most people are not getting enough, right? 4,000 to 6,000 international units per day. You really should be aiming at least 20 minutes of full bright sunlight, i.e. between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, between the months of May and August, when it's strong enough. Per day. All right, less than 20 minutes, you're going to be deficient, and you need to be completely exposed. No sun cream. After 20 minutes, if you're going to be in the sun, yes, then you can put on your sun cream so you don't burn. All right, but you need 20 minutes without sun cream. And what's most of us parents, and believe me, we were the same. I mean, I remember my folks used to stick on sun cream the moment before I even went outside, you know, and it means the kids aren't getting D3, all right? They've been lathered up with the sunblock. 20 minutes after, then you can put them on, okay? Zinc, crucial again. Vitamin C is an ionophore, meaning it enables zinc to get into the cell. That's how vitamin C actually works in terms of boosting your immune system, because zinc is the thing that's responsible for stopping viral replication. So if zinc is in your cell and you've got adequate amounts of zinc, viruses, in particular RNA viruses, cannot replicate. And the only way zinc gets into your cell is if you've got adequate amounts of vitamin C, but also quercetin does it as well. So quercetin is also a zinc ionophore. All right? So vitamin C is a zinc ionophore, and quercetin is a zinc ionophore. Zinc is what you need. But there's no point supplementing with zinc because it will not get into your cells unless you have adequate amounts of that or that. So you should be really looking at about 200 to 250 milligrams of that per day. Vitamin C, you should be aiming at about 250 milligrams per day, just as preventative. But if you get sick, you can go up to 2 grams. Good luck with that, though. All right, but you don't need large amounts of vitamin C when you're not fighting an infection or when you feel you're vulnerable, right? Because you know, it can have long-term, it means other things don't work as well. So just make sure you are loading up with lots of vitamin C when you're sick. Otherwise, just about 250 to 500 milligrams a day. Okay, just as a preventative. Every single one of you should be on this, 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 and this. And those, if you are serious about health in general. But if you're just worried about the current situation, those are critical. All right? Sleep. 7 to 8 hours a day. Eat fast an hour before you go to bed. All right? Meaning that's going to mean you're going to get better quality sleep if you're not looking at a computer screen or a phone screen or a TV. It emits white light that inhibits melatonin production. Melatonin is essential for you to sleep well. Okay? If you can't eat fast because you're just too addicted to your favorite TV program or the computer, just put on a pair of orange glasses which blocks out the white and blue light. And you can nap every day for about 20, 30, 40 minutes. Okay? Midday. Your ancestors did it. All right? Don't feel bad. But I appreciate our modern world often doesn't allow for that. All right? Some other things you can do, beta-glucans, which are found in our Immunovite supplements that we do here, activate macrophage and natural killer cells, which all help boost the immune system. Garlic, elderberry, echinacea, ginger, essential oils are all very, very helpful. We all know a lot of that already. How you move, very important, because movement is not just important to get things moving around your body, but it actually reduces your stress in your brain and nervous system. How many of you would agree that you're more likely to get sick when you're stressed? Absolutely, guaranteed. All right, so we're going to talk a lot about stress reduction and how you can reduce stress in your nervous system. And movement is key. Movement of the spine in particular dampens the stress response in the brain. But also exercise gives you lots of feel-good hormones, all right, which all help reduce stress and also ensure you're a healthier body as well. And it gets your lymphatic system moving. Your lymphatic system is your main filter or vehicle through which your immune system operates through. All right, but you need to get it moving. All right, you can't have it stagnant. So that's why people who are doing daily exercise are much less likely to get sick. But when you are sick, you need to know when to rest. Listen to your body. So if you're really fighting an infection and you're knackered and tired, don't think you need to go and push on a big long walk. Listen to your body because your immune system is very energy consuming. And if you try to do too much exercise when you are sick, you're going to rob some of that energy from the immune system. How you think. Every time you think a stressful thought or angry or bitter or resentful thought, it actually creates stress within your brain. Stress hormones flood the body and it'll crash your immune system. And again, I think we know that. And so the importance of just thinking positive, helpful, building up thoughts as opposed to negative ones is very, very important when you're starting to try and actually get well and get healthy naturally. Healthy is normal, believe it or not. The reason why we think getting sick is just so normal now is because it's become the new normal. There are so many toxic deficient people out there that we now think getting sick is normal. It's not. If you give the body what it needs and you remove what it doesn't need, the body knows how to get healthy. It knows how to be healthy. But you need to make sure you're eating, moving, and thinking in a congruent way for which your genes need to express themselves. Your body is smart. The nervous system is the master system of the body. It controls everything. And your spine is the suit of armor that protects the nervous system. So yes, your nervous system controls your immune system. You know, your nervous system, think of it as a massively complex communication network flooding through your body. And there's a lot of different things that all have to happen at the same time if you're going to mount a good immunological response to a threat. And it's all controlled by your nervous system. And if your nervous system is not firing properly, that is going to have an impact, no matter what supplement you're taking. Now, your spine is the suit of armor that protects the nervous system inside it. So if your spine is all out of alignment and your posture is all out of whack, how well is your nervous system going to work? Not great. And therefore, how well your immune system is going to work? Yes, no? Not great, right? Okay. And I think we can agree that modern life is unnaturally stressful. So stress is a huge, huge part to keeping a healthy immune system. Because when you get stressed, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, muscle tone goes up. And when your muscles get tense, they can actually literally start to pull the spine out of its normal alignment, creating more stress in the spinal cord and nervous system. Your digestion gets upset, which is why when you get nervous, you get an upset tummy, right? And some of you are thinking, yeah, my IBS is always worse when I'm stressed. Because your body doesn't care about digestion when it's in the fight or flight stressed state. It's in survival mode. It thinks it's fighting a lion. The problem is your body doesn't know the difference between a natural threat, like fighting a lion, versus a perceived threat, like a fight with your spouse or your boss, or traffic, or the workload that you're trying to deal with, or finances. It's going to respond physiologically the same way. And would you agree that we're exposed to these stresses almost all day long in our modern world? Yeah. So your body is constantly stuck in this stressed fight-flight mode, which is why there's so many people with digestive problems, so many with tension problems, so many people with blood pressure problems, so many depressed people, so many painful people in pain, because you're going to feel more pain when you're stressed, because it increases your sensitization to pain. That's what stress does. Fear and anxiety, obviously. Your immune response is very energy consuming. So when your body is in a stress state, it will always prioritize the fight-flight situation over your immune system. Because how many of you would agree that white blood cells are not going to save you from a lion trying to rip your head off? Your body doesn't care about white blood cells when you're in a fight-or-flight situation. Now, yes, we're not coming across lions in the Isle of Man, but your body responds the same way to your shouting at the person and you got road rage. Okay, it's the same thing, right? Or financial worries or whatever it is. So the immune system gets down-regulated. Your body will deliberately down-regulate your immune system when you're stressed. The worst thing you want, all right? Especially when there's a lot of bugs and things going on. Insulin sensitivity, blood sugar goes up. Okay, we know what that does to your immune system. Not good, all right? Blocks all those receptor cells to vitamin C. You get cholesterol problems, which is why so many people have high cholesterol. Okay, because when you're stressed, your body needs cholesterol to produce all that stress hormone. Stress hormone is made up of cholesterol. Did you know that? No! You all think cholesterol is just bad. Without cholesterol, you would die. Okay, you need cholesterol, all right? The problem is, you don't need the amount we're getting, but it's doing it because you keep getting stressed, all right? Your clotting factors go up. So how does this sound like for heart disease and strokes? Not good. Stress. It's a killer, literally. It hits everything. Your body doesn't care about reproduction when it's stressed. Think about it. If you come across a lion, that's not the first thing that's coming across your mind, okay? If it is, please see a counselor. Okay, so some sources of stress: thoughts, toxins, and trauma. It's not just thoughts. It's not just what you're thinking that is going to create stress. It's the toxins that you're being exposed to. We talked about that in the diet, okay? But also what you're forgetting about is traumas. Previous traumas to your spine are leaving a permanent imprint of stressor to your nervous system. And it's not just car accidents and big traumas and sporting injuries. It's this.
Oh, yeah.
This is our world now. We're all like this. What do you think this is doing to my neck? And unfortunately, what this stuff does is it creates what we call subluxations in the spine. Subluxations, essentially, the joint is not aligned properly, the spine cannot move properly. You get inflammation, muscle spasms, nerve irritation. Remember, what does your nervous system control? Everything, including your immune system. So if your nerves are being irritated, how well do you think that's doing for your function of your body and your immune system? Not great. Okay, disc problems, joint fixation, and elevated stress hormones, which continuously flood your brain subconsciously. So you might not even feel any pain, and this is the problem. But if you have subluxations in the spine, areas of the spine that are not moving properly, that are not aligned properly, it's continuing to flood stress to your brain, which will be suppressing your immune system or inhibiting your immune system, amongst many other things. So think of it like this. The better your spine moves, the better the brain works. The worse the spine moves, the brain now becomes flat like a battery. And unfortunately, when this front part of the brain becomes flat like a battery, which is heavily influenced by your movement of your spine, when that front part of the brain becomes flat because your spine's not moving properly, one of the things that this part of your brain controls is your immune system, amongst many others. Okay? It also controls hormones, higher cognitive functions, so things like focus, concentration, memory, and learning, which is why you might also notice that your memory is not as good as it was, okay? Or your concentration is not as good as it was. You might also notice that your digestion is not as good as it was, because it also controls your autonomic nervous system, which is all your organs. And it also controls inflammation. So it might mean you're experiencing more inflammatory problems in your body and pain. So movement on the spine is crucial for this part of the brain to work properly. And if you have subluxations in the spine, this part of the brain starts to shut down together with your immune system and a lot of other things. It's one of the most common side effects we get when people start to get their spines moving better is they say to me, "Doc, I don't get sick anymore." This is why. Because as we're getting rid of their spinal problem, because let's be honest, most people initially come into us because of a back problem or a neck problem, we're also getting this part of the brain working better, and so they no longer have immune system problems like they used to. It's amazing the difference it makes. So subluxations cause nerve irritation and interferences in your body's innate ability to heal and remain healthy. So how do you know if you have a subluxation? Well, we train 6 years to feel them. We can feel them in your spine, areas of the spine that are stuck and not moving properly. And by the way, you can have lots of subluxations and no pain. So just think, just because you don't have any back pain or neck pain doesn't mean to say you have no subluxations. Pain is often a very late symptom. But you can also see from the posture. So postural abnormalities are normally the earliest indications of subluxation problems. As the posture is off, so the spine and nervous system is off as well. The most common one, when you look at a person from the side, you'll notice that their head is forward like this. Immediately that's subluxation issues in the neck. All right? And in particular, it's neck subluxations that will have the greatest impact on that prefrontal cortex that controls your immune system. But also you can pick up subluxations very clearly from X-ray. That's obviously really the gold standard way of doing it, and we are able to do that here. And that's why we value the use of X-rays. But also you can use EEGs as well, and heart rate variability studies that tell us how stressed the brain is and how likely there are subluxations in the spine. So to get your immune system working properly, we need to break the bad habits. Would you agree? Okay, we need to start eating, moving, and thinking in more congruent, healthy ways. Get your spine and nervous system adjusted. You can have the best diet in the world, but if the nervous system that controls the digestion and absorption of all that good stuff you're eating, if that's not working properly, you're not going to benefit from all that good stuff you're eating. All right? That is absolutely critical. Break the bad habits, spinal hygiene exercises. These are exercises that you can do each day that we teach here to try and maximize the movement of every part of your spinal vertebra. The more movement of each of those vertebrae you're getting, the better this part of the brain will work, the better your immune system will function. But if you have subluxations, you can't get all the vertebrae moving properly, no matter what type of exercise you do. And the only way you can get rid of those subluxations is if you have a chiropractor who's trained to detect and correct them, adjust them out. Right? I cannot even adjust my own in many areas. I get Dr. Newman to adjust my spine. Right? And likewise, I do his. So it's very important because we can't just get our spines moving properly just with exercise. When you're already sick, rest. No exercise. Sleep as much as possible. Get extra spinal adjustments. They stimulate that prefrontal cortex. They light it up like a Christmas tree, literally. Avoid stressful situations and or people where possible. No sugar and drink water. Simple nutrient-dense foods like broths and soups, vegetable smoothies, supplementation, all those supplements we talked about, and give your body time and take action. This is just an example of what can happen when we get rid of those subluxations. So this was a gentleman who came in initially. This is a picture of his neck. All right, so imagine the person is facing that way. So this is the front of their neck, and this is the back of the neck. The red dotted line is where their neck was. The green curve is where the neck should be. So you should have a nice curve in the neck, arcing backwards like this if I'm facing that way. A lot of people think it's that way, but it's actually that way. Okay? And the spinal cord sits along the red dotted line. But that spinal cord should be in this banana shape. So what do you think it's doing to the spinal cord? Putting massive pressure on the spinal cord. And when you put pressure on the spinal cord, do you think that's going to create stress to the brain? Do you think his neck is going to move normally to allow this part of the brain to control the immune system properly? No, absolutely not. Now, he actually came in because of neck pain and headaches. Well, no wonder, all right? But when we did the history, we found out also he had been getting sick multiple times a year, every year for 20 years. After 2 months of care, for the first time in 20 years, he wasn't sick. No more headaches, no more neck pain. The problem is we as Westerners just haven't been taught or conditioned to look after our spines. We kind of assume it's going to look after ourselves. But if you're sitting, 8 hours a day, how do you think your spine's going to be doing? Remember, you're a hunter-gatherer. You shouldn't be sitting more than 2 hours a day. So even just sitting for more than 2 hours a day, you're increasing your chances of subluxations developing. It's just the modern world now. We cannot get away from it, all right? And so if you really value your health, look after your spine, it'll look after your nervous system. And if you look after your nervous system, it'll look after your immune system, and it'll look after you too. All right. I can tell you in my 20 years of clinical experience, the main reason why people are not healthy and well is because they procrastinated putting off things that they know they should have been doing. But thank you for your time tonight, and hopefully you've got some practical tips as to what you can do starting tomorrow. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you very
No
much.
problem.